Welcome to The Explainer. What's the real difference between just good teaching and straight up genius? Well, sometimes the answer is hiding in plain sight. Today, we're going to deconstruct a few short lines of text that are basically a masterclass in how to communicate powerfully. Let's just dive right in and see what we can find. Okay, so this is our source material. Let's break this down. First part, the teacher is explaining a bit fast, okay? So there's a certain pace. The camera has a slight handheld feel, dynamic energy, right? So it feels really immediate, it feels alive. And then it gets super specific. A close-up of the whiteboard, 3-lock, is highlighted in orange, and there's a calculation animation. Now, on the surface, this just looks like a bunch of director's notes, right? But I promise you, hidden in here are the secrets to explaining something so effectively, it just sticks. That's the puzzle we're gonna solve together.
All right, first up, let's talk about that energy, that feeling you get from the scene. The description doesn't just say the teacher was interesting or good. No, it gives us specific clues about why it feels so compelling. It's pointing to 3 key ingredients that all work together to grab your attention right from the start.
First ingredient, fast. Now, why does a fast pace work so well? Well, think about it. It immediately signals confidence. It signals expertise. There's no hesitation, no ums or ahs. That speed tells you, hey, listen up, I know what I'm talking about, and this is important. It just commands your focus from the very first second. And then there's this word, dynamic. This isn't just about talking quickly. It's about passion, it's about movement, it's about changing your tone. A dynamic delivery keeps your brain locked in. It's literally the opposite of a boring, monotone lecture. It gives the whole thing this magnetic quality that makes it almost impossible to look away.
Finally, we've got that slight handheld feel. This one is so subtle, but it is brilliant. A perfectly still, locked down camera can feel a little cold, a little distant, but that little bit of natural movement, it adds this layer of authenticity, of immediacy. It makes you feel like you're right there in the room, and it adds this tiny bit of urgency to what's happening. You see, these 3 things aren't just random. They're a formula. The fast pace grabs you, the dynamic delivery keeps you hooked, and that handheld feel creates this urgent you-are-there environment. It's a powerful combo that gets your brain ready not just to watch something, but to actually absorb it.
So we're hooked.
The energy has our attention, but now that attention needs to go somewhere specific. Let's move on to our next clue and see how this teacher brilliantly controls exactly where we look. So the big idea at play here is something called visual hierarchy. Have you ever been on a website or looked at a poster and your eyes just snap to one specific thing? Yeah, that is not an accident. Visual hierarchy is the art of arranging things to literally guide your eye, telling you without words, look here first, this is what matters most. And our notes give us 2 perfect examples of this. First, the whiteboard close-up. That's not just a camera angle, it's a deliberate choice to get rid of every single distraction. The only thing left to look at is the information. And then, bam, the highlighted orange color. This creates one single focal point you just can't miss. Your eye goes right there, there is zero question about what you're supposed to be looking at. And all of this brings us to the centerpiece of the whole scene, the thing our eyes have been masterfully guided towards. That mysterious number, highlighted in bright orange. Now, for a lot of people watching, this might be a totally new term. And honestly, that's part of the genius. By using a specific, maybe slightly unfamiliar word, the teacher creates this little information gap. It makes you lean in a bit closer and ask, wait, what is that? What does that mean? It just sparks your curiosity. And the answer is actually really simple. A lakh is just a unit in the Indian numbering system. 1 lakh is 100,000. So 3 lakh is simply 3 times that. And there it is, 300,000. See, by isolating it, by highlighting it, and by using a term that makes you curious, the teacher has made this number way more memorable than if they had just, written it down on the board with everything else. All right, now for the final piece of this whole communication puzzle, and it's described in our notes with just 2 powerful words: calculation animation. This is where it all clicks together. I mean, why just show someone the answer when you can show them how you got there? Animating a calculation turns a static, boring fact into a dynamic little event. You start with the main number, you visually show the math happening, and then you land on that final result with some real impact. It creates a mini story, which makes the information way, way stickier and easier to remember later. So let's just recap for a second. We started with what seemed like a simple description, right? A fast-talking teacher. But now we see it's actually a masterclass in pacing.
That number in orange wasn't random. It was a deliberate use of visual hierarchy. And that simple calculation was really an engaging, memorable mini story. When you put it all together, you get a simple. Is it a powerful formula? You take high energy to grab and hold attention, and you add to that an intense focus to direct that attention exactly where you want it. And what's the result? Information that doesn't just get seen, it gets remembered. Ultimately, breaking this all down reminds us of a really fundamental truth about communication. It's not just about the facts you're presenting. It's about creating an experience. It's about how you make people feel the information, making it pretty much impossible for them to forget. So the next time you have to explain something, anything, I want you to think about this. How can you inject a little more energy? How can you direct their focus? How can you turn a simple fact into a story they'll remember? The floor is yours. What complex idea are you going to simplify next?